Sports Complex. Kickoff at 7:45.
Monday Match Night, powered by Sunshine Snacks and ABC Electrical.
Rise with sunrise. First up, Miss Kitty and Dennis are serving up something special for breakfast. Then we check in with the streets with the Fui Picnic campaign. And we'll wrap your morning with the early morning game show, Sunrise Freshers. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
On Tuesday, the opposition leader Mark Golding will take his turn at bat as he outlines the PNP's plan to implement should they form the next government after the next general election. So what will Golding bring to the table, or better yet, what should he bring to the table? What are the points he needs to hit to show people that, pun intended, Golding is up to the mark? That's a discussion I'll have this evening with two political commentators about the task ahead of Mark G and the dance he needs to perform to impress the Jamaican people as we are entering deep into election season. This is Lead's Story. Let's start the show. So Mark Golding comes out to bat on Tuesday as he makes the case for the PNP to be elected to form the next government after at the next general election. We saw his right-hand man, his finance minister in waiting, Julian Robinson, make his case last week, Thursday, and Tuesday will be the turn of the opposition leader. I have two guests lying in wait to join the conversation to articulate what they feel Mark Golding must speak about on Tuesday. Before that, though, just what is at stake here and how are the cards stacked in the deck as Golding prepares to step forward to the gambling table and play his hand?
As the budget presentation continues tomorrow, all eyes are on opposition leader Mark Golding, who is set to make his contribution to the debate in what has become an increasingly tense political environment. With the election season in full swing, the opposition leader's speech is expected to be a sharp critique of the government's fiscal plans, particularly following months of intensifying exchanges between the Jamaica Labour Party (JLP) and the People's National Party, the PNP. In an election year where the stakes have never been higher, tensions continue to reach a fever pitch.
Call it, Andrew! Call it! And I, man, will sound the trumpet!
Last year, the opposition leader's address during the budget debate became a flashpoint, culminating in a dramatic walkout by government ministers, led by Prime Minister Andrew Holness, after Golding criticized the appointment of the Prime Minister's wife, Juliet Holness, as Speaker of the House, who was elected with the support of both the PNP and JLP.
The Speaker is intended to be independent and must act independently of the government today. That is the tradition. That is the tradition.
Now, a year later, the opposition leader is expected to take aim at the government's handling of the nation's finances. His precursor, opposition spokesperson on finance Julian Robinson, mentioned points under the party's 21 commitment budget plan that he said Golding would expound on. The silly season, as it is commonly called, has seen the opposition constantly on the offense. With accusations of mismanagement and a lack of transparency, the opposition has criticized the JLP's economic strategies, claiming that the proposed budget is yet another example of the government's disregard for the average Jamaican. So with the stakes so high, will every word and gesture in tomorrow's debate be scrutinized? What should his message be? And will the opposition leader's remarks resonate with many voters who feel disconnected from the current administration's policies? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. Both parties are working hard to sway public opinion, with tomorrow's budget debate serving as one of the key moments in the political theater of this election year. We discuss on Lead Story. Courtney Lewis for Lead Story.
Thank you to Courtney. And I take a break. When I come back, Jermaine Barrett and Dr. Paul Bourne.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. We never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
Montego Bay United are on a roll with 3 wins in a row and are looking to pounce on Arnett Gardens in CVM TV's Monday match night, March 17 at the Montego Bay Sports Complex. Kickoff is at 7:45 p.m. It's a dogfight for second in the standings, and Mobay could assume that position with a win over their rivals in front of their home fans. It's Monday match night, Mobay United versus Arnett Gardens, March 17 at the Montego Bay Sports Complex. Kickoff at 7:45.
Monday match night, powered by Sunshine Snacks and ABC Electrical.
Back with us here on Lead Story. So the invigilator is looking at the clock, and any moment now he will say begin. There's only one student in the room sitting the test. His name, Mark Jefferson Golding. So what should he do on that test paper? I'm turning to political commentator Jermaine Barrett and another political commentator, social commentator and researcher, Dr. Paul Bourne, for perspective. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening to you, George. Good evening to your viewers.
Jermaine, I'm hearing you.
Yes, good evening.
Okay, Dr. Bourne, are you hearing me?
As clear as day.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Let's give you first crack, Dr. Bourne. What should the opposition leader say to Jamaica on Tuesday?
Having listened to the opposition finance person, and I think he has some issues that he actually addressed and raised, even though some of it was somewhat comical. But I think what Mark Golding should actually do tomorrow in his presentation or when he presents is the issue relating to education must be addressed. The issue relating to public standard, people's standard of living must be addressed. The transport system must be also examined. The public sector needs to be examined, and he needs to convince Jamaicans that he doesn't only understand what is actually going on, but is putting forward policies and programs to make their lives better.
Jermaine Barrett, is the challenge for Mark Golding that he has to present something that is better than what the government is doing at this moment, or does he have to present something? Oh, I understand that we lost Jermaine. We lost Jermaine's connection. All right. So picking up, understand that we have him. You're here. All right. So I was asking you, is the challenge in front of Mark Golding simply that he has to present something that sounds and feels better, well, potentially feels better than what Andrew Holness and the JLP administration is doing? Or does he simply have to make Jamaicans feel good about a future under the PNP for the next 5 years? There's not a great degree of difference between the two, but there are different. Which of those two things must he concern himself with nailing down on Tuesday?
Well, George, the two are not mutually exclusive, and I think Jamaicans are demanding both. Jamaicans are demanding that for the opposition to win their votes, the opposition must prove to them that they are a better option than the ruling Jamaica Labour Party administration. They also, I think, have to contend with a bit of their past and the level of, one could argue, underdevelopment that would have come about with their with their administrations over the years. You would recognize, George, that the former Prime Minister PJ Patterson has really become active in the campaign, really defending his legacy. But as he does that, he's essentially opening himself up to attacks and scrutiny, and I think that's going to be a part of the conversation in these budget debates. You'd have seen it with Favour Williams' comments about the run with it era, the era of what she contends to be fiscal irresponsibility and so forth. I don't think that there's a difference between both parties, generally speaking, with respect to fiscal responsibilities. The fiscal arrangements are firmly established within Jamaica. I think what he has to do tomorrow is to come with ideas that really reflect superior calibration of the resources that we have to the advantage of Jamaicans. And you're talking about Jamaicans demanding more in terms of more cash in their pockets, better jobs. I hear my colleague commentator referencing the matter of education. There needs to be a proper and a viable plan for the build out of education in a far more sustainable way. And so forth, and he needs to really agitate that his administration would do better than, for example, the administration of the day is doing with respect to roads, with respect to water, and all of those kinds of things. So the demand is incredible for him.
Yeah.
But alas, that's how politics is.
Yeah. Dr. Bourne, do you imagine that Mark Golding's job, the task in front of him on Tuesday, is very difficult to win over the public, given the odds he's fighting against with a whole its administration that, unlike so many before it, have several things that they can campaign on as solid achievements? Does that make Golding's life that much more difficult to convince us?
I'm going to start by actually starting with a thing that Mr. Robinson actually mentioned. He said there's macroeconomic stability. And if there's macroeconomic stability, it's going to be difficult for anyone to argue, should we change it? And that is going to be something the PNP needs to understand clearly. When you begin these phrases and these concepts and forward these ideas to persons that listen, things are somewhat good. It's just that we need to do some more work. The question therefore becomes, why not allow that individual to continue? So therefore, Mark's job is going to be a difficult one, not only because of what he envisioned the PNP wanting to get, but the fact that the JLP is actually doing some work, and he's going to have to pass this test in trying to convince persons to not continue that trajectory that they are going with the JLP and put them in, knowing fully well that the JNP is onto something and something great.
And so, Jermaine, political analysis is a sensible man's game. And if I'm following on from what Dr. Bourne said, is it then that Mark Golding has to say, listen, he has to acknowledge that, listen, we are not saying that things are disastrous. Put us in to take you out of disaster. We are saying that from where things are, we are better than them at making it even better than it is now. Is that the challenge?
I think he will say two things. He will say, one, that things could have been better. Had the PNP been in charge, things would have been better. The resources of the country would have been better spent. Issues like education, for example, would have been better attended to. I don't think he has much of an argument for crime, given where the crime data is now trending. Issues like the infrastructure, he will argue that infrastructure would have been better. So Jamaica should decide whether or not we are convinced, and would argue that the current arrangements with respect to Spark and so forth are late and are sort of an election gamut rather, to win Jamaicans over. And so that's how I think he will position it. He will not, at a time when the stakes are as high as they are, will not give a lot of credit to the Jamaica Labour Party with respect to their economic management and management of the country overall. But what he must do primarily is not spend a lot of time on that, but rather articulate policies and programs, initiatives that will excite Jamaicans. I remember last year in his budget presentation, he had, prior to his budget presentation rather, he had promised that he would raise the
income tax threshold,
income tax rate to $3 million. Yes, to $3 million. But then when he went into the budget presentation, he sort of waffled on that a little bit and then got called out for it by the then Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark, right? So again, now that we've heard the administration's plan with respect to them raising it to $2 million over 3 years, he now needs to come with a response to articulate whether or not that is adequate. I don't think that Jamaicans, once we get into it, will feel satisfied that that's a massive gain for them. And so it's going to be a question as to what better would the PNP have done had they, if they were to gain state power.
Dr. Bourne, the Jamaica Labour Party administration has spent some time trying to paint the PNP as the party of tax. And unfortunate statements by Dayton Campbell, the spokesman on agriculture, about put a little thing on this and put a little thing on that, have given the JLP ammunition. Must Golding on Tuesday spend the time to try to debunk this argument that the PNP is the party of tax, or must he just ignore it and move on to other things?
An excellent point there, George. But what we need to look at, though, is if the PNP is going to be looking at what is it that they are going to try to debunk in terms of what was said or what is argued out there, then that won't give him enough time to deal with issues that he wants to promulgate. So therefore, what he ought to do is to mention that briefly, but spend most of his time addressing issues and policies that Jamaicans can decide, listen, that this is the best option at this time to get us to where we want to go in terms of a better education system, a better transport system, a better quality of life for our children and grandchildren. That is what he ought to be selling, and not paying attention to what the JLP wants him to do, and therefore following the rhetoric of the JLP, and therefore dig himself further into a hole in that regard.
Hear you on that. Hold the line there, gentlemen. Going to take a quick break and come right back. This is Lead Story on the eve of the most important speech of Mark Golding's political career. He is going to show Jamaicans why they should vote for him and his party, make him prime minister so he can lead the Jamaican people for the next few years. He's preparing to make that speech, and it's on the eve of that occasion that we're having this discussion this evening.
Difference is made where titles are decided, where respect is earned. Excel here and you could go down in history. It's the final third. CVM TV's weekly JPL preview show every Sunday, starting 30 minutes before our live broadcast. Get insight, analysis, and hear from your favorite players weekly, just before we bring you our feature broadcast for the day. Move from defense to attack and join us in the final third. This and every Sunday until the end of the JPL season.
We are back for season 2 of Corner Office. We are highlighting small businesses, hard-working Jamaicans who are doing their own thing in their own spaces. People who are in their role, bossing up their role.
Let's go!
Let's get it! It's not if you own the company or not, it's how you own the role. Ice cream is coming. Guess what? It is your Corner Office. Season 2, bigger and better. And guess what? You don't think it's not yet? Check it out. Put the end of the place. Undercover. Easy yourself.
Back with us on Lead Story here on CVM TV, talking to political commentators Jermaine Barrett and Dr. Paul Bourne on the eve of the most important speech of Mark Golding's life as he speaks in the budget debate outlining the PNP's plan for Jamaica should it form the next government. Jermaine, let me ask you this. The last time we saw an opposition leader go to the wicket in a budget debate and speak, and of course the campaign around that time, I'm talking about 2016 now, remember the election that year was held on February 25 that year. Andrew Holness went forward and promised something big. He said, if you give us Jamaica House, we will give you 1.5. It worked because it was their argument to raise the income tax threshold to $1.5 million. Does Mark Golding need a big idea like that to get people really thinking and contemplating seriously whether PNP candidates should get more X's on election day than JLP candidates?
I think he most definitely should try to craft such a narrative and articulate such a view. I think, though, he is straddled by the history of the PNP that will not be that will be focused on rather by the Jamaica Labour Party in response to any such big, expensive expenditure that he comes with tomorrow. And so he has to basically be dancing between raindrops, trying to convince Jamaicans that, as they bought into Andrew Holness's big promise in 2016, so should they buy into his promise, despite the history of the PNP, broken promises, despite the continuation of taxation upon taxation, budget presentation after budget presentation. Those are realities that he has to confront. And so his very credibility will be brought into question. And of course, I imagine that the Jamaica Labour Party, when they get back at the wicket in this budget presentation, the Prime Minister's speech on Thursday, the Minister of Finance's presentation on Tuesday, gives them both an opportunity to really hammer home the question of credibility and try to discredit the PNP, whatever big strategy that they come with. The second, and I want to make a quick point here, though.
Yes.
There are other issues that I think he needs to speak to. Jamaica has not done very well in terms of energy and the overall productivity of our economy. Jamaica ranks amongst the least productive economies in our region, right? And so, having come out of a compensation review program that has seen massive government expenditure for public service, there now needs to be some idea as to how it is that we're going to drive greater productivity from the private sector. And also, energy is such a huge impediment to the growth and development of the country at large, right? Jamaica energy prices are extraordinarily high relative to our regional counterparts. So I want to hear what plans he has to come with now. I think he is able to bash the administration for not doing enough, but then he must come with some reasonable, credible plans as to how it is that we're going to solve those two big issues as well.
So I hear you saying that energy could very well be the Achilles heel of this Holness administration that Golding can very well exploit. Dr. Bourne, from which sector or industry or in which area can this big idea that Golding needs come from, if you agree, of course, that Golding needs a big idea to have Jamaicans thinking and then acting come election day?
Well, my answer is a complex one, in that is, I would advise him, if I were his advisor, not to make any such plans, but to show what he is able to do. However, let's argue that he were to do so. If he's to do so, what I would say to him, go in the area of education. Currently, there is a challenge regarding the education system and structure in Jamaica, and we're not getting the best in terms of our dollar that we're spending in the education system. When you look at the CXC result in terms of the passes, in terms of math, English, etc., we're not getting the best buck for the dollar. What I would argue is deal with this and put forward a plan to show how we can address this education system as well as the matter relating to energy. Because if he goes in those two directions, what it means is that he controls the future in terms of development of the country, and energy as it relates to reducing costs and other things that can get the Jamaica people better in the short term as well as in the long term.
Yeah. And so on the point of education, Dr. Bourne, Jamaicans will say, and the PNP have been saying this in regards to fiscal stability that we've been enjoying, to say, look, that can yam. So someone could very well say, well, education can yam. I need something that can put money in my pocket immediately, cause the elasticity of my dollar to get new powers, to become more supple and to stretch further. Is there a big idea that the opposition leader can come with to cause Jamaicans to keep more of their dollars in their pocket to excite them to vote PNP come election day?
That calm direction that the People's National Party is going to take. Because currently the economy is relatively on a good footing. And there are issues that can be addressed and should be addressed to get more money into people's pocket. It can't be that. It has to be a situation where we show persons, listen, we need to get ourselves out of where we are next week, the following week, and later years.
Yes.
And education and technology and efficiency is what's going to get us there. And not the quick fix approach that we have always been doing to get money in our pockets today and drink and feel happy and good. And tomorrow we're back where we are.
Yes. Jermaine, finally, the opposition spokesman on finance said that the EASE initiative, which of course looks to give at least one nutritious meal per day to each student, or to needy students rather, at primary and high school, he said there's a transport component that the opposition leader will come and share with the public. I imagine that that's an important thing that you certainly are listening to hear about.
Yes, I'm certainly listening to hear about that. I don't know, though, that that would be radical enough to distinguish the PNP from the JLP in terms of their plans. I've been hearing from the JLP that they have ideas around expanding the JUTC to bring it into even rural parts.
Which they have done already. They have it in Mobay, and they have it in St. Thomas, yes.
Prasad St. Mary. They're planning to do it on a larger scale. Montego Bay Metro also is to be expanded. We're getting 100 new buses and so forth. So I don't know that there is anything that the PNP can come with, given the tight fiscal space that we're still operating with,
yes,
that can really radically change transportation as it relates to the school system.
And lastly, I'm out of time. Quickly, Jermaine, yes or no? Does Mark have the room, does Golding have the room and the material to meet the mark on Tuesday, you believe?
I don't think he does, because, I mean, other things that I think would excite Jamaicans is a drastic reduction in GCT. But then on the other side of that ledger, one has to consider when it is that the government loses its revenue so substantially, how is it going to plug the deficit? Because people need roads, they need water, they need healthcare, they need education. All of those costs still remain. And also, he could also increase the tax threshold for PAYE earners. But again, that reflects a deficit being imposed upon government revenue. Again, the question has to be asked: where do you get the money to plug the deficit? Rather,
Dr. Warren, the same question for you: does Golding have the material to meet the mark on Tuesday, you believe?
This one is a difficult exam, and I'm a stats math person, and I'm saying this reminds me of some of the exam that I've actually done. Where on completion of the exam, I wonder for 2 or 3 days, or hope that I pass the exam. It's going to be a difficult one for him, and let's hope that he's able to navigate this one carefully.
Hear you on that. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Dr. Paul Bourne, Jermaine Barrett, really appreciate your contribution. I break now for the news at 7.
Hey you don't want no people in your business?
You should take advantage of CVM TV's unbeatable small business advertising package. Trust me.
And get your goods and services in front of your customers today.
For $150,000, you get a high-quality professional commercial.
Plus 20 prime-time commercial spots.
That's massive exposure at a fraction of the cost.
Including on
CVM TV's Monday Match Night. Match day Mondays at 7:4 to 5 p.m. with a rebroadcast Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Nothing else can quite match up. Monday Match Night, powered by Sunshine Snacks and ABC Electrical.
savings account from anywhere. Go online and open yours today.
The time by Sagicor Bank is
7 o'clock.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, South Manchester delegates vote in businessman Ian Ives boots Robert Chin. St. James truckers protest traffic fines. Domestic violence consultation raises awareness among residents. In the business report, it's small biz, big dreams, and in sports, it's a battle for second place as Arnett Gardens visits Montego Bay United in CVM TV's Monday match night. From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7 for Monday, March 17, 2025. I'm Nika Lewis. Tonight's newscast is abbreviated to make way for CVM TV's Monday match night at 7:45. Thanks again for joining us. What used to be a weekly and for some a daily relaxation spot in Linstead St. Catherine is now quite the opposite. This is as a result of a fish kill in the Rio Cobre at the weekend, which forced even the National Water Commission to temporarily cut their supply to Spanish Town communities. Our reporter Trisha Gay Kelly visited the area today.
The National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, has issued an advisory urging residents of Vanity Fair and Zephyton in Linstead St. Catherine to pause all recreational and domestic activities in the Rio Cobre. The advisory follows a leak in the river with what is suspected to be caustic chemical.
This is where two rivers meet. One appears clean, the other contaminated with chemicals. From here, the water flows into the Rio Cobre.
The water was white like alcohol, like some in the water, so nobody could swim or them. But we see people still going in the water, but never going there.
NEPA confirmed there was a leak following reports that residents swimming in the river on Saturday noticed changes in the water. The agency has not said which company is responsible. However, President of the Friends of the Rio Cobre, Keston Gordon, says more transparency is needed.
The National Environment and Planning Agency should be more transparent and submit their findings in real time. Because when you run a testing now, and if the pH level or some other chemicals in the river is way off, and you take 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks to disclose it to the public, that makes no sense. This is the drinking water, this is the bathing water of the people. I was advised that stiffer penalties are coming. We don't know how long that will take. We have been promised that from at least 3 years now, and that piece of legislation has not come into being.
As for the residents, they believe NEPA is working for the companies rather than the people and the environment.
Something happened one time, you can classify it as a mistake. But when something happened like 2-3 times down the line, it's not a mistake. We don't know what's the situation or what is being compromised with NEPA, but something is going like really wrong. Until, as I said before, until something drastic happens to somebody or somebody's child or something. Because you have to understand you're dealing with chemical. and chemical is not something that you play with. So going forward, it's not only fish is going to die. And then that's the time NEPA is going to take this thing serious.
Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
Well, Trisha Gay, those seem to be deep concerns, and these are stories you've been following for quite some time here. What exactly did you notice was the main concern of the residents and stakeholders?
Well, for the most part, they are concerned that despite the many occurrences of this very same incident, nothing much is being done, and they believe that the penalties being given by NEPA is simply a slap on the wrist. They're saying that because there's no real charge to them, the companies continue to do it over and over again. And it's only impacting the residents, and they are the ones feeling it in their pockets, in the river, their recreation, their domestic stuff. Everything is being impacted. Nothing's being done about it.
All right. So I gather we will hear more on this development from you.
Yes, we will.
All right. Thanks, Trisha Gay. Well, the government is intensifying efforts to streamline bureaucracy and stimulate economic growth. Today, Audrey Marks was sworn in as a new cabinet officer after serving as Jamaica's ambassador to the United States. Longtime senior strategist as well, Delano Seavright, was also sworn in as junior ministerial ambassador. He's in a junior ministerial role. Ramon Gordon dives in.
At King's House early Monday, Audrey Marks assumed the role of Minister without Portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister, focusing on efficiency, innovation and digital transformation. A central component of her mandate is the Speed Task Force.
Streamlining processes for efficiency and economic development, not to be confused with DOGE.
Announced by Prime Minister Andrew Holness in recent months, this task force aims to address bureaucratic bottlenecks and make it easier to do business in Jamaica.
Bureaucracies become very self-indulgent. And unless government review bureaucracy, they grow large and unwieldy. This is something that is critical to relieve the pressure points, the pain points on citizens, but to also increase the pace of growth.
The SPEED initiative will focus on streamlining approval processes, digital transformation and investment stimulation.
Bureaucracy is also a part of the cost of living. So when we talk about what are we going to do to ease the cost of living, it's not just managing prices to ensure that we have a stable inflationary environment, but it is also treating with some of the issues which cause you to spend unnecessarily.
Meanwhile, Delano Seavright, now Minister of State in the Tourism Ministry, has been tasked with strengthening the linkages between the tourism industry and the local economy. His role will involve agricultural integration, housing initiatives for tourism workers, and stewardship of health and entertainment tourism.
Whether it is in agriculture, whether it is in housing, every Jamaican must feel the benefit of tourism.
The changes come ahead of the general election constitutionally due by September. Holness says the appointments align with the Aspire growth strategy aimed at modernizing government operations. Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
Manchester businessman Ian Ives has received the green light from JLP delegates in the much-watched Manchester South constituency to contest the 2025 elections for the party. Well, the victory, which is yet to be confirmed by the party's selection body, would mean that the incumbent Member of Parliament, the party's Robert Chin, would not be the one contesting for the JLP this time around. More in this report.
Victory for businessman Ian Ives was how the day's events in the JLP's internal selection process for the keenly watched seat concluded.
I'm very elated. I'm now looking forward to extend my hand to the Member of Parliament, the sitting Member of Parliament, and to Aidan Peart, who, would have fought a good battle. And yes, I came out on top, and now we have a lot of work to do. And we're going to unite the party, because we're not a divided party, we're a united party. And then to take home the seat in the general election.
He amassed the highest number of votes from the delegates Sunday, outshining the incumbent Robert Chin. However, JLP Deputy Leader Michael Stern explains the win must be confirmed by the party's selection committee before it is final.
We have a consultation with the workers to basically ask them who would they prefer. The last time was whether or not they had confidence in Mr. Chin. And this time it's whether or not they choose one of the candidates that were interviewed by the party to move forward. And that is not final until we have the final result going to the Operations Council and the Selection Committee in the Jamaica Labour Party. So even though today we had the runoff and we have a result which will come out in the public eye, we still have to go back to the party and meet at the Operations Council and Selection Committee to make the final call.
And where does this leave Chin? Well, the party's general secretary in a statement announced that the secretariat intends to honor the delegates' votes, of which Ives secured 54%, Chin 35%, and Adion Peart 10%. He says he'll also recommend accordingly to the central executive. And whoever the JLP chooses will face the PNP's Peter Bunting, who lost his long-held seat in central Manchester in 2020 to neophyte Rhoda Moy Crawford. Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
CVM News at 7 continues right after this break.
Live life your way, no free rewards. Digital postpaid. With Digital postpaid, it's all about you. Sign up or pay your bills to stay active for a chance to win a luxurious all-expense paid trip for two to Royalton, Antigua. With round-trip flights on us. Every week you could win exciting prizes. Event tickets, gym memberships, spa packages, excursion adventures, restaurant vouchers, and more. When you opt in on the My Digicel app, life your way starts now. With Digicel, better connected.
Attention motorists, it's time to switch to the T-Tag on Trans-Jam highways. Our automated T-Tag lanes reduce the cost of managing cash at our toll plazas, and drivers of Class 1 and 2 vehicles who use the T-Tag pay a lower toll fare than those who use the manually operated toll booths. They also get their 10th trip through any toll plaza free. The T-Tag makes it quicker, more cost-efficient, and safer for our customers. So switch to the T-Tag today and experience the convenience. T-Tag packages are discounted to only $1,500, including a $500 toll credit from now until March 31st.
Millions of people are attacked by harmful mouth bacteria. The root cause of bad breath, gum problems, cavities, plaque, and tartar. That's why Colgate combined the best science and technology in Colgate Total. Unlike others, its superior formula fights bacteria and creates a powerful protective barrier for up to 24 hours to prevent them from coming back. Take control of your oral health with Colgate Total.
Jamaica, it's time to invest in you. It's your chance to own Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited shares. Now's your opportunity to build wealth by investing in a company that's been delivering solid returns. Whether you're new to investing or already winning big, now is your time. Offer opens March 4, 2025. Visit goipo.jncb.com for details and apply today. Your highway to wealth starts here. Conditions apply.
Welcome back. Reducing incidents of domestic violence remain a crucial goal for stakeholders, and joining the push for peace and change is president of the PNP Women's Movement and co-convener of the Elevate Her Summit. From controversial debates among the genders on when is abuse acceptable to will abuse ever end, residents in Kingston shared their thoughts. 1 in 3 women in Jamaica has been exposed to some form of sexual or domestic violence. The case, brought by Patricia Duncan Sutherland, co-convener of the Elevate Her Summit at its first in a series of consultations with locals in Chambers Lane, Ligony at the weekend. The sessions aim to generate awareness around domestic violence and reduce incidents.
So this was the first community consultation between men and women discussing the nature of the relationship between men and women in Jamaica and what can we do to make our relationships less violent and less abusive and so that we can live good between men and women.
This is the first stop?
This is the first stop, and for the month of March we are going next to Hanover next week Wednesday and then to St. Elizabeth the following Wednesday. After we do these first three, we'll evaluate and then we look at how it is that we can carry it right across the island.
And with increasing reporting mechanisms for incidents of domestic abuse, given the continued spotlight and training, she says more men are coming forward to report such abuse.
Last year, we had 2,500 men who reported abuse by their intimate partner, and we had some 8,000 women who reported abuse by their intimate partner.
All in all, you're pleased with the turnout?
All in all, I'm pleased with the turnout, the quality of the discussion, and we look forward to refining and keeping it tighter, getting some solutions from the discussions that we are going to have that we can make public so more people can share in the shift.
A paradigm shift around whether abuse is ever acceptable.
So is there a good reason? So is there a good reason to beat the woman? Not for you. So that's really the question. Some say no. Is there a good reason, ladies, for a woman to get licked? You sure? Even when she cheats? Yes.
Listen, a relationship of two persons, no?
Yes.
And on a one-sided story. You get women happy and nice. And you're happy with that. As far as you get comfortably, you're not in your own ways. I want to live my life. Oh, you want your own feeling. That means you come and you business that we are getting up. I want personal relationship now, you know. Because you are bullying me in your own way, you know. And the work.
Well, truckers in St. James are raising concern over what they call unfair fines imposed on them by the police. They say they're following the law, but still facing penalties that threaten their livelihoods. Today, they took to the streets in protest. Now joining us on set is Shante McNeil, who has been following that story.
That's right. The law requires truckers to properly mark oversized loads to ensure road safety, and failing to do so can mean hefty fines up to $50,000. But these truckers say they've done everything right and are still being penalized. I have the details in this report.
Under Section 258 of the Road Traffic Regulations, it is illegal for any vehicle's load to extend beyond a certain limit without proper warning signals. Violators can face fines up to $50,000. But on Monday morning, frustration boiled over. Truckers lined the streets of St. James, placards raised, voices echoing in defiance. They say they followed the rules, securing their loads, marking their projections, yet tickets keeps piling up and they've had enough.
30, 40 years now, we have been doing this work. Some police not trouble me. Yes, and they say all you have to do, put your red flags on the tail. And all of a sudden from this year, a total change they have on us.
If we take up a ton of steel, as I said before, for $10,000, we are getting tickets for $50,000. It is ridiculous. We cannot manage it. They have to roll it, but we cannot do it.
They say a trailer we carry it, and trailer can't go West Green, catching all nowhere. Or we just suffer, we just park up, we have to pay a road license, insurance, tax, everything.
In the midst of the unrest, Sergeant Sean Allen stepped in. After hearing the truckers' complaints, he admitted the fines resulted from a misinterpretation by police officers. He promised to speak with his team to have the issue rectified. Similarly, Commanding Officer Superintendent Aaron Samuels says he's willing to meet with the truckers to address any further concerns.
We know that they play an important part in the development of the infrastructure landscape here in St. James. And if it is that we may need to
have a meeting with them to ensure that their trucks are up to speed in terms of all the safety requirements that is required. We will and we are ready to do that.
The officer notes the rising number of road fatalities, where since the start of the year, 77 people have died in 71 crashes. Superintendent Samuel says his team is working to bring those numbers down to keep all road users safe. Shante McNeil, CVM News.
And we know you have a lot to say, so before this break, let's check out social media.
So, what's trending online today? Israel's non-resident ambassador to Jamaica, Raslan Abu Rukun, has pinpointed early childhood education, technology, and water management as key areas where Jamaica and Israel can bolster their ties. Here are some of your comments. At Nika_only says, be a friend to your neighbor first. At I_cash_wait writes, we need better ties with Palestine, not Israel. At The Word on the Feet shares, this would be a questionable move. Jamaica doesn't need the kind of allies that draw them into conflict. At _inked_Jamaican Post, I'm suspicious. Very suspicious. At Sage Quadwoo adds, gone are the days when Jamaica stood up against apartheid regimes. And that's what's trending online today. Continue to share your thoughts with us on X at CVM TV and CVM Television on Facebook. I'm Michael Paul.
Hop into action this Easter with a loan from Chris and Charles. Borrow $575,000 or more with payments starting at just $12,595. Whether you're renovating, consolidating debt, or investing in your future, we've got you covered with fast processing, unbeatable rates, and exceptional service. Better hurry. Just like Easter buns, this offer won't last. Call 876-926-0609 or visit chrisandcharles.com today. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
This is combat racing. Best on best. Kenny versus Fred, fastest men alive. Masai versus Jasmine, the crown is hard to keep. Cole, Josh, Yara, are you lucky or good? Gabby, Sydney, Marlady, champions preside. This is where scores are settled, legends made, a festival of speed 4 times every year. The race is on. Buy your tickets now.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me I go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. I never make no record, I beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
Welcome back. So, brand exhibitions are a unique way of getting different businesses in one space to showcase to the public what they have to offer. However, this time around, students are the ones putting on their brand expo. Here is Adrian Williams with Small Biz, Big Dreams.
One key driver of any brand celebrating success is through marketing. This is one reason the University of Technology implemented its active marketing program under the College of Business and Management's School of Business Administration. For this episode, let's dive into what this cohort of final year marketing students have in store for their Brand Expo.
This is the 23rd staging of Brand Expo, and the theme this year is From Vision to Victory, Celebrating Brand Success.
Tell us a story now behind the theme and what is to come.
Right, so Brand Expo started in 2007 as Brand Fair, and throughout the years it has made a rebranding now to Brand Expo, right? This year we make history with being our first event where we have a title sponsor for the event, Double Seven. Right, so we're doing quite well. We are looking forward to seeing brands like Maggie, brands like 876 on the go.
We also have a stage setup, and we allow for the exhibitors to come in and speak about their brand, display their services. So we're going to have actually a vehicle display.
So that vehicle display will be done by ATL Automotive MG. Right. So they will come display their vehicle, and as that vehicle is also new on the market, so that brings more exposure to the event.
So we have 4 facilitators. We have Mr. Michael Lee, Mr. Nigel McFarlane, Miss Suzette Townsend, and Miss Chrisanne Taylor, sorry.
The Small Biz team caught up with lecturer and facilitator for the students, Michael Lee, who looks forward to this year's expose, but in addition, always advised the students on one key point.
They also have a responsibility to manage themselves because it's a particular course that requires a lot of time. So I would encourage students, or usually I encourage students, if you're going to do a subject like marketing seminar that involves a lot of practical work, do a certain amount of subject or courses during the particular semester that will allow you to manage your time well.
We now take a trip to the location on campus where exhibitors and media will be stationed for the event, complementing their exhibition packages ranging from $40,000 to $85,000. They also have offerings for small businesses.
The combo is you have 2 businesses under one tent, right? Okay. So you could either reach out together or reach out by yourself and say, okay, I'm interested in doing the combo deal. It's for $20,000, $10,000 per business.
So if you want to get in touch, you can check us on Instagram. We are at Brand Expo JA, and you can give us a call. The number is 1-876-776-5181. And you can also register on our website. It's utechbrandexpo.com.
This was Small Biz Big Dreams.
Dream big!
Indeed, and we remind you that right after this break, Jordan Fort joins us with sports.
Get your dream home with a homeowner savings plan, or HOSP, from CIBC Caribbean. HOSP lets you save towards your home deposit with extra benefits and bonuses. Ready for a mortgage? Unlock one with us right now at CIBC. Ambitions made real.
If you get $3,600 right now, where do I buy with it? If you never say Transjamaica Highway shares, then we need to talk. We drive on the road every day, but how many of us actually own a piece of it? How many of us own the road? At NCB Capital Markets, we believe wealth should be for everybody. That's why we're proud to be the lead broker for the Trans-Jamaica Highway Limited offer for sale. There's up to $9 billion in shares up for sale. So whether you're a taximan, farmer, teacher, office worker, it no matter, all Jamaicans have a chance to invest. And the best part, the minimum buying is 1,000 shares. So you see the same 3,600 me asked you about earlier, you can use it to start build your future. So no matter wait till the traffic pile up. Download the prospectus and apply at goipo.jncb.com today, and we'll put you in the driver's seat on the highway to wealth.
I am Jamaican.
You are Jamaican. We are Jamaican. And the national budget is our business because it impacts every Jamaican. From healthcare to education
to the road conditions
to security for my family. The national budget is my business.
No, sister. It is our business.
The national budget is everybody's business because it impacts every Jamaican. Visit the Ministry of Finance's website at mof.gov.jm for more information.
Good evening and welcome to Sports. I'm Jordan Fort. Let's kick off with some football news. It's a battle for second place as Arnett Gardens visit Montego Bay United in CVM TV's Monday match night. Arnett sit on 61 points, 7 behind league leaders Mount Pleasant, while Mobay trail closely with 59. Kickoff is set for 7:45 p.m. at the Montego Bay Sports Complex. Both teams have split the previous 2 meetings, with Arnett winning the last contest 1-0 and Mobay winning the first match between the 2 teams with a similar scoreline.
Coach, it has been a decent run of results since the new setup in terms of coaches coming in. 3 wins in your last 3 games. No disrespect to those opponents, but certainly tonight opponent is much tougher for you. What are the 3 key things that you think must take place for Montego Bay tonight?
Well, I think based on our defensive organization, just to prepare for the opponent transition and how we can transition ourselves going forward and how we can just organize ourselves during the game.
It has been a winner piece for both Montego Bay and Arnett Gardens. Both have come on home turf. You're home again tonight. But what approach are you expecting from Arnett tonight?
Well, Arnett, they have different styles of play, but they have numbers in transition all the time. So we're trying to see if we can deal with that and how best we can also get our transition game going also.
We saw Brian Brown getting some minutes in his last game against Veer. How good is it to have him back, and is he ready to go a full 90 minutes?
Well, it's always be, a plus to have Brian Brown back in your team as a senior player, just to boost the confidence of the youngsters and also the team. So let's see, if we can introduce him during the game. It's not 100%, but with game time, I think, all goes well.
Coach Gilbert, it's literally a 6-pointer for you. You win today, you create a 6-point breathing space between yourself and Montego Bay United. What are you planning to do differently this time around from the last time you came here and lost 1-0?
Yeah, we have to contain their strength in the wide areas, going down the flanks, and of course, offensively they are very strong. So the first thing we have to do is to curtail their strength, and then we'll see if we can exploit any weaknesses that are enough on their defensive side.
In terms of away teams, you still remain the team with the best away record in this league. You want to give me a little sneak into what goes into preparation when you're traveling?
We try to first get to the venue on time, try to organize ourselves to make sure that nothing doesn't affect us on the day or to affect the team's performance. So credit to the staff. I didn't even know that, but nevertheless, happy and we want to keep it that way.
With 11 goals in his last 10 games, Warner Brown missing tonight, what does that mean for your supporting cast and what they'll have to do in terms of being goal threats?
For sure he'll be missed. He caused that a problem for defenders, and he's our main talisman this season. But nevertheless, it's not the first game that we're going to play without him. And we have capable persons who can score some goals. Fortunately for us, Jaim, Shea, Fabian has been scoring in our last couple of games. So, she has gone 2 from 2 in our last game. So hopefully we can get some goals from them, and even other persons.
Meanwhile, the match between leaders Mount Pleasant and Racing United, which was supposed to be the first of the doubleheader on match day 30 of the Rain Navy Jamaica Premier League, was postponed. The league leaders requested a postponement due to 4 of their players being engaged in national duty. Key players Sule Makala, Fitzroy Cummings, Shaquan Davis and Kyle Ming are among 9 JPL players called up to the national squad for their CONCACAF Gold Cup qualifiers against St. Vincent and the Grenadines on March 21 and 25. Monday's kickoff was originally slated for 5 p.m, but the match will now be rescheduled. Now, it's been 3 months since reggae boy West Ham United's record Premier League goal scorer Mikel Antonio crashed his Ferrari in a tree. He was hospitalized for more than 3 weeks with a shattered right leg. In one of his first sit-down interviews since the accident on December 7, where he was on his way to training, Antonio opens up on how he is feeling now and about the progress he has made.
No, I'm feeling good, to be fair. Obviously, I'm walking normally now off the crutches. The leg's got the strength, but it's not got much power. So right now I'm trying to build up the power, but I'm lucky to be alive at the end of the day. So I'm very positive when it comes to life. I've got a second chance at it. So I'm never going to let anything drag me down, or I'm never going to let anything be quite negative. So right now I'm happy, man. This is how far I've gone in such a quick time. On the second day, they had physios in there trying to get me to lift my leg, and I couldn't even get my leg off the bed. Now I'm walking, trying to jog bits and stuff like that. So Like within 3 months, it's been unbelievable. And the surgeon who did my operation was telling me that he doesn't want me to put my leg down for 3 months. So I've been on crutches for 3 months. And I'm 3 months now, and I'm jumping, and I'm trying to jog and stuff like that. So I'm not going to overdo it because I don't want to have any setbacks. But if I can push, I'm going to push.
Now, Jamaica Golf Association President Jody Munbarrow on Sunday captured the inaugural Trinidad and Tobago Ladies Golf Open ahead of fellow Jamaican Matea Issa at the Plantation Golf Club in Tobago. Munbarrow shot 79, 77 and 78 for a 3-day gross total of 234, 3 strokes better than Issa at 237. It was the first time in the 117-year history of the Trinidad and Tobago Open that a ladies division was included. Honor Prince delivered a dominant performance as he warmed up for the classic races later this year after winning the Sir Howard